Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Jessica? Steve?
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to acknowledge some guests that we have with us this evening. We have 3 high school seniors with us. I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Kurt Roberts.
Okay, so today we're going to recognize 3 seniors, and just to give you a little bit of background, they were recently recognized at Effingham County Chambers up and coming leaders. So the Effingham County Chamber for the past 4 years has recognized area high school students or young adults who are basically destined to be up and coming or destined to be leaders in their communities or in their field. And so tonight we have 3 students. Actually, we have 2 here. There's one that can't be. We'll recognize him anyway. I'll explain why he can't be here tonight. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce them individually, and then I'm going to ask them to introduce their parents who are with them tonight. And then they'll also tell you a little bit about what their plans are for the future. So, Lane always speaks short, right? All right. Is Lane Powell's a senior, and he was recently recognized as an Effingham County Chamber up-and-coming leader. And I'll let you introduce your parents and tell us a little bit about what you're going to do in the future.
Like I said, my name's Wayne Powell. My parents have been here just under all back there. My dad's right there. My plans for the future, I'm going to go to SIUE or Lakeland, whichever one ends up it being. And I don't really know what I'm going to study yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. So we'll see.
And then Gracie Eaton is also a senior and recently been recognized as an Effingham County Chamber up-and-coming leader. And I'll let her introduce her parents as well.
Like you said, my name is Grace Eaton. My parents are Michelle and Dean Eaton. Next year, I will be attending Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia to study nursing to someday become a labor and delivery nurse.
And our last senior is Spencer Fox. And Spencer can't be with you. If you don't know, Spencer has recently had some pretty invasive surgery and today will be with us here tonight. However, his parents, Jason and Jennifer Fox, and so I do know a little bit about Spencer's future. Spencer plans to go to Elmhurst College, where he'll be playing baseball. He's also studying pre-med. I think Spencer, ironically enough, is wanting to go into the same kind of type of surgery that he just had done. He seemed pretty excited about that the last time I talked to him. So I think we should be pretty proud to have these students in our school and in our district and most importantly in our community. So if we would give them a round of applause.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming this evening. I think we probably want to get your
I need a
picture.
picture, sorry. I have to go back.
You have a picture with them? Mr. Dobson, we have a picture with them? And Mr. Roberts?
Okay.
Wow.
And then do you want to shake hands?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much.
And then you can go through and shake hands, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Grace.
Thank you.
See you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Congratulations.
Parents, nice job. Congrats to you too.
At this time, I'd like to recognize any visitors. I don't believe there's been any that want to address the board, but I would like to recognize our students that we have here this evening with, I'm going to assume, Mr. Hammer's government class? Yes. Have you been more than once? No. Is this your first meeting? Okay. A new group. So,
It's
you
last
don't
chance.
know this, but you get to stand up and introduce yourselves. So if we want to go around and stand up and introduce yourselves,
You
please.
want to start right here?
Yes, great
Okay.
idea.
Hi, I'm Lynn Mueller.
Addison Goldstein.
I'm Brenda Dolger.
Trevor Adams.
Very sorts.
I'm Katie Ziegler.
Brady Brown. Braxton Lewis.
Lucas Thomas.
I'm Grace Eaton.
Thanks for coming tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. You're at the press table. I thought we had a new reporter with us. Great. Thanks for joining us this evening. I hope you learned something, and we might pick some of your brains later on down the line because we have considered having maybe a student board member. So keep your eyes and ears out for that one. All right, next on the agenda is the FY23 audit. We have Mr. Doug S. with us this evening.
I think before you start, you want to let those kids know what they need to major in?
Yes, accounting.
Accountants are hard to find
Back to
right
the
now.
guy who didn't know.
Yeah.
I can get a job pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
There's a shortage of us running around here. It gets lower and lower every year. But,
A lot of school districts that I'm hearing from that aren't able to do what you're doing tonight, which is to provide us our report.
yes, yes.
They're having to put that off.
I was personally emailed probably within the last 6 months. I've been personally emailed by probably 5 or 6 school districts looking for an auditor. And I had to turn them all away because we don't have time to handle them all. As you can see, we're here almost at the end of the year, and I'm just getting there. So, that's where we're at.
We appreciate it.
Unfortunately, in profession right now, but yes, there is a shortage of accountants, at least in this area. So if anybody knows anybody, it's definitely a career occupation right now that needs people. So. So anyway, I left at your spot there our annual bound blue book, which is essentially the financial statements for the district. Inside that blue book were 2 letters. There is one letter that has some bold-faced headings on it, and that's kind of what I'm basing that presentation on. I kind of tried to summarize what I thought were the high points and just kind of hopefully make that big blue book turn into just barely over 2 pages of hopefully more easier to understand knowledge, because nobody reads that thing anyway. But essentially, what it amounts to in our audit, the result of our audit is 3 separate letters inside the blue book, pages 1 through 8 of the book. And where we have to give our opinion on the financial statements, we have to give our opinion on your internal control and compliance with government auditing standards, and we also have to do, because you receive a certain amount of federal dollars, we have to do a separate federal compliance audit, and we issue our report on that. Or have to do that, then come here and have to fix 50 different things. It's not a problem at all. I don't mind replying to emails. But they are definitely on top of things in there, and they do a great job. We did have one small item that is, I addressed it at the very end of the audit results section of my letter here. That is also addressed in the other little 2-page letter that is in your, that is with the blue book. If you want, I'll just give you a minute without going into it too in depth. It's nothing major. If it was major, I'd have to put it in the financial statements. But essentially, what it amounts to is that, from my outside view looking in, there was turnover in the assistant superintendent position, where a couple people were in charge of it for FY23. And there was one item that seems to be just kind of got lost in the shuffle. And there was some revenue because of that was missed out on. But you can read the, it's not, given the size of your district, I don't consider it a significant amount of revenue. If it was, you would have had to put it somewhere else.
There's also a change in law too, I think, as far as when you apply for that, correct? Instead of annually, it's quarterly.
Right, well, it's all, you had the option of doing it quarterly forever.
Okay.
I mean, it's always been that you could file it quarterly. It's just that the historical practices here has been to do it on an annual basis. And then I believe, after a certain period of time, the quarters fall off where you can't submit them anymore. And unfortunately, you went past that time period for the first 2 quarters the first 2 quarters of fiscal year 23, which is the last 2 quarters of calendar year 23.
And I'll step up and take the responsibility for that. We did have a changeover in the business office, and it was me for an extended amount of time until we got some things in place. We were previously, prior to me being in that role over there for a short period of time, we were seeking annually to be reimbursed for Medicaid.
Right.
And the law changed at some point, as you were referencing, and I didn't catch that. So I will take full responsibility for that. So.
Right.
Appreciate
And
it.
our recommendation, I did write a small recommendation in there, is that maybe that should be a part of a job description, somewhere somewhere written down where, this position is in charge of that. So maybe it doesn't get, lost somewhere.
We won't miss that one.
That's very good. All right, so, essentially, those are the, formal results of the audit, as far as we are concerned. As far as the numbers go, as a whole, if you take all the fund balances of the district did lose, quote unquote lose, had expenditures in excess of revenue, about $1.4 million in FY23. Primary reason for that is there was a lot of dollars spent on capital projects and equipment, almost $5 million worth, which is much more than a typical year. You had things going on at Southside, starting a renovation there. You had some parking lot improvements going on, and things like that. Some big projects where a lot of dollars left the district for that. And part of that was spending down some of the life safety money that bonds were issued some years ago for that. And so it's just kind of been spending that down over the last couple of years. But yeah, as a whole, the district fund balances went down about $1.4 million in fiscal year 23. Now, when we narrow that down to what ISBE considers your 4 major funds, which is your education fund, your operations and maintenance fund, transportation, and working cash, those 4 funds combined were down about $400,000. And again, some of that money for those projects came out of the operations and maintenance fund because they were building related projects. So that was, that was the main driver of those 4 funds being down as a whole. The only negative impact outside of obviously losing those funds in your account is that it did drive down what's called your financial profile score that ISBE ranks you on, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. Let's see, outside of that, looking at just a couple things to point out, the increase in interest rates being available to the district at the bank has really been a big help. In fiscal year 2023, you collected $500,000 more in interest in in fiscal year 2022. That's not just $500,000, it's $500,000 more. So when the interest rates go up, I mean, that's a crazy amount of money, but that's really good. And then, that is pretty much the one thing that stood out at me as far as receipts go. When you're looking at expenditures go, if you take away the capital projects expenditures that I just talked about, all other expenditures increased about 6%. So that is pretty much in line, with what we've been seeing at other places, inflation, so there's really nothing, it's not what you would expect, I would have to say.
So, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
The inflation bonus that we gave last year
Mhm.
would have a direct reflection
Absolutely.
on that you just spoke about.
Absolutely, right. That would be included in the 6% increase. That would absolutely be in there, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's taken anything that was not, I removed all of the capital projects, the expenses and equipment expenses that are usually one-time things from both fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 22 compared to fiscal year 23 expenses were up just over 6% from fiscal year 22. Let's see here. So going on to ISBE measurements. ISBE has a couple measurements that I always like to review with the board. First of all, they do a series of 5 financial indicator tests, and they give you what they call a profile score. The lowest you can have, I believe, is actually 1. The highest you can have is 4. Your score for the previous 4 years, not including fiscal year 23, has been 3.9. You've just missed out on your perfect profile score by 0.1. This year, because of the reduction in the 4 major operating funds, you got down to 3.55. The good news is that 3.55 still qualifies you for what ISBE considers to be financial recognition. They consider any district that's 3.50 or higher to be financial recognition status with them. That means you're not having any issues and you're fine with your finances. So you're in financial recognition status even with the drop in your operating funds for fiscal year 23. One of those tests that make up that score is called days of cash on hand. That one I always like to look at. Your days of cash on hand for June 30th, 2023 is about 215 days of cash on hand. So essentially what that means is that that measures how many days the school, the district can go without receiving a dime of funding from anybody and still be solvent. So if your real estate taxes ended up being late because the levy got postponed for whatever reason, you got adequate cash reserves to overcome that for almost 7-month period of time. Same thing with the state. You get evidence-based funding aid from the state. If for whatever reason the state was having troubles paying that, which did a little bit happen a number of years ago, you can survive for a while. ISBE wants to see that at 180 or higher. You're 35 above that, you're doing pretty good. The other thing is operating expense per pupil. I always like to take a look at where you're at operating expense per pupil wise. For fiscal year 23, the calculation came up to almost $14,000, so $13,913, which is $800 higher than last year, which is about a 6% increase, which is where we were at on your operating, on your normal expenses. When you look at, I always also like to look at where the district ranks in terms of all the districts in the state of Illinois, and for that I use just unit districts, because you guys are a unit district. I look at all the other unit districts. There's 384 unit districts in the state of Illinois. Now, obviously, all their data hasn't been compiled yet, so I can't give you where you're at from fiscal year 23, but back from fiscal year 22, you are pretty close to the middle. You were number 168 going from lowest to high. 168 out of 384, so we are more on the lower side than the higher side. And that, pretty much sums up my presentation here. I really don't think there's anything else that I really have to tell you, but there are a couple things else in my letter I don't deem as being worthy of putting out there, but if you read the whole letter, I think that will give you a good basis for what you got here. And if anybody ever has any questions on Kelsey knows how to get a hold of me. You can always send me an email. I'll be more than happy to reply. And I'd be more than happy to take any questions anybody has.
The cost per pupil from fiscal year 21 to 22.
Yes.
Pretty good jump. Is that common?
It was very common. I believe a lot of that had to do with the influx of ESSER funding. And spending money on all the COVID-related costs. And then that continued, obviously, into FY23. The ESSER funding continued, so, obviously you have to spend that money to receive that money. So that that's, that generally is where that comes from.
The days of cash on hand, why does it keeps going down?
Well, so there's two reasons for that. Number one is that, your cash has been going down. Like I said, your cash, your fund balances went down over $1 million in the past year. Another reason for that, your expenses have been going up. So the way that figure is computed is it takes all of your expenses, and divides it over 365 days per year to come out with how much cash you need every day to operate. And then it takes your cash balance and that puts it into that. So as your expenses go up, you need more cash in the bank to come up with days of cash on hand to get your days of cash on hand higher. But since your cash has actually been going down the last couple years, actually, your days of cash on hand is decreasing at a more rapid rate because your expenses are going up and your cash is going down, so it's a double-sided effect there. Does that answer your question?
How familiar are you with the press policy, which they're going to approve tonight if they do, 410, where it talks about the written report in 24-25 that asks for the annual average expenditures for the previous 3 years, and we cannot have 2.5 times cash reserve over the 3-year expenditures.
Right. Yes, I'm aware that's a new law that they just passed. I don't think you have any reason to be concerned about that at this time because the way I kind of look at it, just as a broad view of that, is that it says you can't have 2.5 times your operating expenses. Well, if you look at it from a days of essentially that would be like your days of cash on hand. 2.5 times your annual average expenses would equate to 2.5 years worth of days. So you're looking at about 900 days. You guys are only at 200 days. In order for you guys to get to 900 days, you would be unfathomable at this point. I would think you'd have to come into something. If you're buying a Powerball ticket, maybe.
I don't think it's going to affect us, but I do think that this is the start of something that could affect school districts in the future. And the whole point behind this is that you're not supposed to be a savings account.
Absolutely.
You're supposed to be taxpayers' money utilized for purposes of helping the unit do what's best for kids.
Yes, the original law that the sponsor wanted to pass was 250 days of cash on hand.
Yep.
That would have been something that could have been concerning for a lot of places. Even here at some point. I mean, if you go back to the 5-year comparison that's in the back of this letter, which I'm sorry I didn't mention it was back there, you were over 250 days of cash on hand at some point in the last 5 years. So that was the initial, but I think there was some pushback on that was being way too strict, and I believe that to be the case. 250 days is way too strict. And so they made it 250%, which I think may be a little too lax. So
It'll change.
Yeah,
I think
right.
that's the start.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you, Doug. I'm sure we
You're
spent many hours on
Thanks,
this. We appreciate your help.
We will be back at this point in the meeting so we can get to another meeting.
Yes, I got it, yes.
He's not done.
The schedule is demanding sometimes. We're getting there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, having reviewed the audit, I'm looking for a motion and a second to accept the fiscal year 23 audit as presented. Motion by Andrew,
Second?
second by Chad, roll call.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Andrew.
On to the financial report. Mrs. Baker will have information.
All right, the financial report is enclosed in your packet. Looking at the fund balances, we have a 2.25% increase over last year with a net fund balance of $31,203,693.55. Operating funds are up 2.99% over last year with a net total of $26,159,993.88. Revenues in the ed fund, local revenue, we received $3,661,444.33. State revenue, $584,544, and federal, $104,387.41. Those expenses over $5,000 are in your packet. Recommendation would be to reimburse the Impress account in the amount of $2,247.57 and the payment of bills in the amount of $705,008.67.
Thank you. Are there any questions about the financial report? Looking for a motion and a second to approve the financial report to reimburse the Impressed account in the amount of $2,247.57 and the payment of bills in the amount of $705,008.67.
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Andrew, roll call.
Jane, yes, Chad,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill.
Yes. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. You have minutes from the regular board meeting on 11/20, closed session minutes on 11/20, and the athletics and HR committee meeting on December 6th. Also attached is the cafeteria report, student teachers for next year. This says spring 2023, would that, that is this year. It should be spring 24. We have a couple, extended field experience and a student teacher at both Central and EHS, the same student there in the spring of 2024. And then another student just for field placement, short-term field placement at 5th grade. And that is at Central in the spring. Fundraisers, the junior high cheerleading squad is having a bake sale on December 14th. Oh, had a bake sale on December 14th. And then there is a athletic enhancement program for January 2024 for athletics in general at the high school. And then also we have, there aren't any field trips. And then we also have an approval of Aero Pest Control for our pest control contract for next school year. Are there any questions regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Motion by Chad,
Second.
second by Steve, roll call.
Chad,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes.
Next up, correspondence. I've received 2 thank you notes. Board presentation, thank you for the gift certificate for the hand. My family will definitely enjoy it at the holidays. Wishing you all all of you and yours a very Merry Christmas, Linda Baker. And Board of Education, thank you for the hand certificate and the backpack. It's greatly appreciated. Have a Merry Christmas from Michelle Wesley. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
I don't believe we have a foundation report in there.
I don't see one.
Let's see, foundation report. Enrollment as of 11/30/23, enrollment is 2,310, one more student than the previous month. I didn't have last year's comparison on there, I'll have to look at that one, so apologize for that. FOIA requests, we have three.
Yeah.
Three, again, very standard, just asking for purchasing information from our district. One of them was dealing with environmental testing. They were just checking to see, I think these are things that went out to the entire state, from my understanding from other superintendents. And then I don't have on the notes there, but I did want to say a special thank you to our law enforcement crew. Several of us in the room had the opportunity to shop with a cop this last week. That was an experience like I've never had before. Went home and all. 65 students, I believe, were able to purchase gifts paid for by the money collected by this community. This community, again, is incredible about that. That night, I believe there were probably 25 police officers present, along with a lot of our staff that had been invited by Mr. Harkey, our SRO. So it was really, really the experience that was rather touching to me personally. So I want to say thank you to them for what they do on a yearly basis. If you're ever looking or know somebody that's looking to donate money, I think that would be a great cause to help out for future gifts for kids that maybe don't have something that maybe they would like. And then I would also say, just because today I had the opportunity, was invited by Mr. Spicer to be at the movie theaters. I believe our 3rd through 5th grades this week, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. We'll be taking in the movie Trolls, correct? The PTO has purchased the ticket and a bag of popcorn and a soda. Honestly, again, as I stood there and watched the kids go by and I heard some of them say, I've never been here before. That touched me. And I appreciate what the PTO does and our staff does to make that happen for those kids that maybe don't get that opportunity every year.
I know we don't have a foundation report. Were you able to attend Breakfast with Santa?
I was briefly, yes.
So that event
Incredible.
was earlier in the month, the first Saturday of the month, I believe. I don't know any statistics. We'll probably get that at the next meeting in the foundation report, but if you're ever involved with Breakfast with Santa, that's pretty cool event.
It was busy.
Okay,
That's it.
is that it? Moving on to new business. Next on the agenda is approval to invest money into a CD at a local bank.
So first, we need to annually approve financial institutions. And we're currently using Midland States Bank. We're looking at investing in Diedrich Bank. So we're seeking approval from you guys to use those two financial institutions. There's information in your packet.
And is this the first item that we're, the
Yes.
approval of resolution for
Yes.
Dietrich Bank? Okay. The approval of resolution for Dietrich Bank as an authorized depository, investment manager, dealer, and broker. You have a memo in your packet. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve Dietrich Bank as a qualified vendor to invest. Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Chad. Roll call.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane is Chad.
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is the approval to actually invest money into a CD at a local bank not currently utilized by Unit 40.
So we're looking to invest in Diedrich Bank, up to $7 million is what we're requesting. Just looking for your support. Gain some interest.
Okay,
At this point, historically, from my understanding, Midland State Bank has, for the most part, been the provider for all financial needs for the district. We have been approached by the District Bank multiple times. I did think it's my job in this district to entertain those kind of conversations. And when they came to us, we appreciated the opportunity that they have out there right now. CDs are, if you're not looking at them, you might want to look at them before things change. They're pretty good still right now. So that's where this recommendation is coming from.
And this recommendation would just be for a 6 month?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Yes.
correct.
Okay, so, are there any questions? So I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the district to move forward with transferring $7 million from Midland States Bank to District Bank into a 6 month CD.
Motion.
Motion by Chad, second by Andrew, roll call.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is the adoption of board policy updates and changes from press. Last month, we posted all the policies and went through all the numbers. Tonight, I'm looking for a motion and a second to adopt those policies. Did anyone have any questions? So I'm looking for the recommendation is a motion and a second to adopt the following board policies as presented. 220, 2110, 2120, 2200, 2220, 350, 410, 430, 460, 490, 4130, 4160, 4170, 530, 550, 590, 5120, 5150, 5190, 5200, 5210, 5220, 5250, 5330, 615, 620, 630, 650, 660, 665, 6230, 6270, 6280, 750, 760, 770, 7160, 7165, 7190, 7250, 7270, 7285, 7290, 7345, and 830.
I would like to comment on one before you go on. 460 is bidding threshold is increasing from 25,000 to 35,000. Again, that's something the legislative body has, I believe, passed. There will be another piece to this that the board will have to put in place that we'll work on before we would ever utilize this policy, even though you would put it in place tonight. So there's some more action that's going to follow this. The press, when I talked to them, wasn't in a position just yet for us to be able to share that or to take action on those items tonight. The other piece to that same piece of legislative movement is a design build contract. I want that to be pointed out as well, because if we do move forward down the road with potential facility upgrades, we could enter into after January 1st, the design build process, which would mean you don't go to bid for your architectural and engineering, some of those things, but you have to pick two different companies that have to work together but separate, so that one designs and one builds. Okay? There'll be more information on that to come. I don't want to get any deeper than that because I don't completely understand all that's come down the pipe. That's after January 1st of this year. That is an option based off of press approving that tonight that we could be in a position to potentially consider.
Any questions about that? A motion and a second to adopt the following board policies as presented, all of those that I previously read. Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Steve, roll call.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Andrew?
Next on the agenda is the approval to purchase the data software program.
Again, I've got Shelley going to speak on this. Actually, when did I come to you about this? Probably June or July to start considering this after I come back from Washington, D.C. and saw some presentations out there of other districts that were looking into some of these things. And hearing that the federal government and the state government were going to be very interested in us showing people, I'm sure you are interested too, in what we've done with all the federal and state money that was provided to us the last several years. So I'll stop right there and let you pick up on this part if you don't mind.
Sure. So we have about at least 20 different data sources of different data that's used, housed, shared throughout the district. Some of it is with the state, some of it is ours. Student information system, Infinite Campus is one major one. But what happens is when you have this data source, and then this data source, and this data source, and this data source, and then you line up 20 of them, and then you want to try to make sense of all of your data together, it becomes really difficult to do that. And sometimes it becomes extremely time consuming to try to put all of it together, because you've got to extract the data from multiple places and then basically put it back together to have it make sense. So that's what this visualization software application will do for us, is it will allow us to bring our data together, centralize it into one location, and then turn around and create visualizations either from a single data source or from multiple data sources, and create a synthesized report basically out of all of it, which is not something we can do very easily right now. So that actually helps us with our strategic planning, which is why it's going to be really helpful for us to have it so that we can set our goals. We know what our goals are, even though we might be looking at data from lots of different places. We can bring all of that data together to track our progress toward our goals. So we researched several, did a lot of different demos with several different companies, and the one that we're recommending is called Abre. It has a greater capacity for data sources, visualizations, and outputs, which allow for a wider analyses and future uses. So with the outputs, a lot of these tools that are available in the education sector, they'll bring multiple data sources together, but what they won't allow for is an output file. And the output file is actually another huge time saver for us, because sometimes we have to bring our multiple data sources together and then turn around and hand them off to somebody else, such as the State Board of Education or the federal government. And so the output file is actually really important here. We did a deep analysis of their cloud services, their system, data, and cybersecurity policies and practices, and we're confident in the product, especially in light of what happened last year. We weren't going to just do whatever. We did go through their processes pretty thoroughly. And it allows for multiple reports. It also allows not just for reports, but we can create forms and we can create plans, which will then allow us to do a lot more things in-house, and pull in single and multiple data sources within those forms and those plans. And then that will allow us to, again, and analyze our data at a much higher level, from the district level all the way down even to an individual student level. So what we're looking at is a 3.5-year contract, and the reason being is it's such a large undertaking that you don't take on something of this magnitude for 6 months or a year. You take it on more for the long haul, because you're starting in on builds that are going to take some time. And so the goal is to use, upon your approval, the goal would be to start after the first of the year, which is when the purchase would actually begin, and start working basically the second half of the school year on getting everything integrated, everything set up so that all of the data flows, and then also working on getting at least one build done before the end of the school year, so we can kind of tinker and see how all of it works before we head into more builds, because I think the builds will get easier as we use our product a little bit more, and as we get used to them and they get used to us. So that's why there's a 3.5-year contract there that's being recommended. So it's 5 years of historical data, which is good, because we'll want that longitudinally, that's good to have that historical data. What it comes with right now is 6 apps. We can always purchase additional apps, but right now, I think that these apps are sufficient for us. And then they do have some pre-made dashboards. So the way that this company works is we'll have some customized dashboards that will be designed just for us and for our purposes. But there are a lot of other dashboards out there that other districts across the country have had them build. And if those work for us too, we get access to those as well. So there's already a bank of those out there. I'm sure we'll use the custom builds as well to bring our data sources together for things that we need. So what it will come with is 6 custom singular dashboards per year. So the singular dashboard is coming from one data source. It'll come with 4 custom conventional or multi-source dashboards per year, and that would.
Go ahead, Chad. Question first.
Yeah, if you don't, who all was on the committee to make on the selection?
Well, Andy, Jenny, Emily, Kevin McKenna, me, Kelsey sat in
Kelsey was a little bit.
one,
It
yeah.
was mainly to make sure IT, because I've been some places where we picked a software and didn't exactly tell IT.
Oh, well, no,
And then
it became an issue
they were
with the system,
very, actually, we really made sure that they were involved in it, and when it actually got down to 2, they helped narrow it.
Sure,
to 1.
make sure it
Yeah,
works on our
for sure,
systems.
for sure, and that's why we wanted to make sure that it did work, not just, I'm sure it's the same way for you. You always have to balance the back end and the end user,
Sure.
right? And so we were trying very hard to make sure that the back end and the end user were both getting what they would need here.
And then
So
the data, will it be stored in the cloud or will we have it on a server here?
it's stored in the cloud.
Okay. And then do we have access to that data at the end of the life of the contract? Because we'll want to have something in case we don't decide to renew with them.
Yes,
We'll want to make sure we have a
yes,
clause in there.
and this one actually has the output files, whereas some of the other companies didn't offer. If they offered anything, it was extremely limited. It wasn't as robust as what we'll be able to get with.
Yeah, we just want to make sure we have that in there so
I
that
hear
if
ya.
we decide to change, they can't
Right.
hold us hostage on
Right,
what we've worked so hard to pull together.
right. Yeah, because this is not just, it's definitely an investment of money, but it's an investment that's gonna be a lot of time here
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see what it'll bring. I think it's gonna bring some good information for us. I'm excited for it.
We'll double check and make sure
Yeah.
that is ours at the end of this. That's a great question, because.
At least to have the
I'm
rights
guessing
to it.
It is, but we need to make sure.
Sometimes they call it an export clause or right of data clause, one of those terms. And then as far as funding,
Yeah, the funding side of it is, Title I will take a biggest bulk of this, will be right around $54,000. ESSER 3 that we still have, which needs to be spent by September of this next school year, of next year, $26,646. And then in our administrative cap line, the board office line, we've got $26,646 that would pay for that. Now, we could also split this over 3 years if we wanted to, but we feel like right now we're in a position that, again, this ESSER grant money is going away, so we're trying to build out, as you can see, for 3.5 years, rather than just this year, because that money's not gonna be here next year for us to be able to utilize for this. So that's why we're going through some of these things the way we are. Title money, really, to be honest with you, that this is good use of title money. It's gonna help streamline some of the process and give us some more data-driven pieces to help us make some more of those decisions. Yep. That's some of the questions you've been asking me over the last year. This will help us.
Well, we're hoping even that with this tool, it will hopefully help us identify maybe even error. We all have errors in our data when we deal with a massive amount of data. There's going to be an error somewhere, and this will hopefully help us even catch some of the errors. We've had some of those discussions too, that it's not, this really it's going to do a lot of things for us, serve a lot of purposes, but that's another one, is to help us cross-check our data to make sure that our data is accurate. It's nothing worse than spending your time trying to impact data that isn't accurate.
Right.
You're just spinning your wheels at that point.
And as far as the cost goes, how much of this cost is like initial outlay? After the 3.5 years, are we looking at a third of the cost for a yearly rate, or is it less? Does that make
Well,
sense?
yeah, so it could be less, only because it really is gonna probably depend on the training that we might need. And if we feel like we're kind of set with our singular custom dashboards and our multidimensional dashboards, if we feel like we're set, then we'll probably do, without looking at it, because I don't have that part in front of me.
Here it is, you want.
It would be,
Is it the top one or the bottom?
well, yeah, they wrapped it all up together,
That's what
so, I don't want to tell you because I'll be wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. Because on the top part, for sure that 15,000
Right.
would drop off because
Because that's an
is-
initial outlay.
Yeah, that is, the custom dashboards and the singular dashboards, you kind of pay for in a package. They've got like 3 levels. And so I don't know that we're gonna need that, all of it in 3 years, just because we'll have done hopefully a lot already, and we may be able to not just drop that 15,000 off, but even more than that too. And keep in mind, this is 3.5 years that you're looking at.
Right.
This isn't one year, it's
Right.
3.5
So
years.
if you break it down, if you were to drop the 15 off, that could potentially be coming off, you're looking at $91,584 for 3 years. You're just over $30,000 a year is what you're talking about.
That's a whole different, yeah, it's very affordable.
Completely
If
different.
you think about it from that perspective. Plus, there usually would be an escalator each year thereafter, 3 to 5%. If you were to
Yeah,
pay
and
for it
there
annually.
there is.
Okay.
But there could be more if we did do it this way.
Right, we were able
That's
to
what
lock
you're
it in that, and control that a little bit.
Yeah, I missed that the first time I looked at it. It was actually a 3-year deal.
All right, good questions. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the district to move forward with purchasing the operating data centralization visualization software program for $106,584, which is a 3.5-year contract.
Motion.
Motion by Chad. Second by Andrew. Roll call.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you,
I do
Shelley.
appreciate it.
Shelley.
Appreciate it.
In your packet, you have a job description for the athletic director for the 2023-24 school year. Would that be 24?
I say the wrong ones.
That'd be 24, 25, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't have the years on there, sorry.
That's all right.
I just looked at the title, but,
Yeah.
okay,
It's well written and
Starting July
detailed.
1st.
right, it does start July 1st, 2024.
Correct.
Anybody have questions about that job description?
That's split because of the current situation is that athletic director takes care of both the junior high and high school. So now that we've split that, hired 2 different people, pending the board meeting tonight, this job description meets that split.
Okay. So this is for the high school athletic director job position. Looking for a motion and a second to approve the Effingham High School athletic director job description as presented to begin on July 1st, 2024.
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Chad. Roll call.
Chad?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the Effingham Junior High School Athletic Director job description. Any questions? The job description in your packet. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the Effingham Junior High School Athletic Director job description as presented to begin July 1st, 2024. Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Steve. Roll call.
Steve?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
In your packets are the athletic director's contract and the junior high athletic directors' contracts. Any questions? There being none, motion is second. I'm looking for a motion second to approve the contract for Matt Thompson as the Effingham High School Athletic Director to begin July 1st, 2024, and to be provided 20 per diem days to work prior to July 1st, 2024 with the current athletic director and administration.
Motion.
Motion by Chad, second by Andrew. Roll call.
Steve,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad.
Yes.
Next is the Effingham Junior High School Athletic Director contract. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the contract for Vincent Rohr as the Effingham Junior High School Athletic Director to begin July 1st, 2024, and to be provided 20 per diem days to work prior to July 1st, 2024 with the current athletic director and administration.
Motion.
Motion by Steve. Second by Andrew. Roll call.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad.
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of technology equipment purchases for fiscal year 24 for the 24-25 school year.
I think you can read it unless somebody on the technology committee,
I don't know if you guys have any questions.
if you got any questions. Oh, Joshua was, yeah.
Most of them are just replacing what we currently have.
I'm impressed they last 10 years, I gotta be honest with you.
There you go. This smart panels would be new. That's kind of a big investment, as Mr. Johnson said. The ESSER funds are available. It's a great time to use that money to update our system. Central is the only building without smart interactive flat panels. The special ed teachers and the music teachers there have them, and second graders, but the rest of the third, fourth, fifth grade teachers do not. So they're due for, these smart interactive panels and getting the training and everything to use them effectively. And then the rest is really just replacing old equipment, teacher laptops, central desktops, and then student laptops.
Who do we purchase through?
We mainly go through Insight. That's our big, we have a really good relationship with them.
There's 90 desktops at Central, 36 smart interactive panels at Central, 66 teacher laptops for the junior high and ELC, 720 student laptops for third, fourth, sixth, and ninth, and 375 cases for sixth and ninth. Are there any questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the purchase of technology equipment, student laptops for third, fourth, sixth, and ninth graders, and cases for sixth and ninth graders, laptops for ELC and EJHS teachers, desktops for Central Grade School, smart interactive panels for Central Grade School at a total cost of $492,000. Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Steve. Roll call.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad.
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Great job, Mrs. Block, thank you.
Also, thank you for your support.
Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of hard-to-fill position for middle school general science. Just read,
Didn't have, yep.
again, a shortage of teachers, and specifically for middle school seniors out there.
Strike you up a deal.
Yes. This agreement is made between the Board of Education of Effingham Community Unit School District number 40, otherwise known as the Board, and the Effingham Classroom Teachers Association, IEA-NEA, also known as the Association, and Alexandra Estes, the teacher. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the middle school general science hard-to-fill position agreement.
Motion.
Motion by Steve.
Second.
Second by Andrew. Roll call.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad.
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Andrew.
I would ask before you move on to the next one that we table this item to next meeting or a couple meetings from now. I had some information come to me this afternoon from the non-cert union to not move forward with this. So I ask for you to hold on that one and table it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Haven't had time to look through things. It hit me about 2:30, 3 o'clock today.
Okay, so we'll skip that and move on to item L, the approval for a job description for the Director of Security. That job description is in your packet. Any questions? Okay, so looking for a motion, a second to approve the job description for the Director of Security.
Motion.
Motion by Chad,
Second.
second by Steve, roll call.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jill, can I ask one question? I did have somebody ask me if that was going to be a 9-month, 10-month, or a 12-month position.
It's currently 12, isn't it? What we have?
I
I thought that's what
I
we
thought
talked.
it said 12.
Yeah.
Just because we have a lot of activities with
Mhm.
students in the summertime, with camps and practices, so we'd like to keep that person on.
Makes
Staff
sense,
all year.
I assumed, but I just
Yeah.
thought since I.
Thanks
was
for
here, I'd
asking.
ask.
Good
Appreciate
question.
that, good question. Next on the agenda is the approval of the ECTA memorandum of understanding. This is for adding the junior high girls volleyball B team coach for the this year.
Yep.
23-24 school year for a stipend of $1,200. Does anyone have any questions about that MOU? Okay,
I can tell you before we move forward too, that the junior high coach, we're going off, came to me, asking me to take this route with that volleyball program. And the next item that will be, next couple items that will be addressed as well, she did approach me about those too, so I didn't go to her, which was appreciative.
good, another expansion of programs for kids.
Right.
So that's great. I am looking for a motion and a second to approve the ECTA MOU to add a junior high girls volleyball B team coach for the 23-24 school year for a stipend of $1,200. This will be reevaluated at the conclusion of the FY24 school year to determine if the need is there to see this position for the 24-25 school year.
Motion.
Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Steve, roll call.
Chad?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes.
Okay, so the next on the agenda is to implement girls' 5th and 6th grade volleyball programs. So we would like to expand the volleyball programs like we've done for basketball. Does anyone have any questions about that?
I would like to interject also that I've reached out to the sports boosters, and just like the basketball program, they are going to put $5,000 towards this program to help the implementation of the program for the first year. So that's very much appreciated from the sports backers. I'll also want to talk and go ahead and say that we have 91 girls and boys basketball players in that program that would not have been involved in that program since we didn't have one prior to this year. So I think it's neat to see that. I've been around it a few times, and when you've been around it, every contest I've been to, the gym's been full, grandparents and parents, and we've seen people come onto our property that I don't know that they've ever been in a gym. I think it's remarkable what we're starting to see. I say that because from my understanding, the volleyball program is going to be double that. So if we get 180 kids, I don't know if there's any girls left in 5th and 6th grade that aren't playing volleyball, but that's not a bad problem. So pretty exciting stuff for them.
I watched the NCAA volleyball tournament this weekend, so yeah,
We'll get there.
good news. So we're looking for a motion and a second to approve the implementation of girls volleyball 5th and 6th grade program during the 23-24 school year. The cost of this program will be supported by the Unit 40 district budget and the sports backers donations.
Motion.
Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Steve, roll call.
Steve?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Next is the approval of the ECTA memorandum of understanding. And this is to hire one fifth grade girls volleyball coach and one sixth grade girls volleyball coach. That MOU is in your packet. Any questions? So I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve that memorandum of understanding with the ECTA to hire one fifth grade girls volleyball coach and one sixth grade girls volleyball coach. This will be reevaluated at the conclusion of the FY24 school year to determine if the need is there to see these positions for the 24-25 school year. Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Steve. Roll call.
Steve,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad.
Yes.
Next on the agenda, we've received a resignation from a current school board member. I'll read that note to you. On December 13th, I, Scott Volpe, respectfully resigned my position as an Effingham Unit 40 school board member due to moving out of the district. So Scott is not living in Effingham Unit 40 school district. So he has submitted a resignation. So we will need to accept his resignation. I'm looking for a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Scott Volpe from the Effingham Unit 40 school board effectively 12/13/23. Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Steve. Roll call.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad.
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
So before we go any further, we probably ought to discuss what your next steps are going to be. From my understanding, we have 60 days from the point of that letter being turned in. So 60 days from
December 13th.
December 13th, for this board to seat another board member. You've been through it before, so I don't think it's anything new to you. I'm assuming you would want to take the same route.
Historically, what we've done is posted, taken letters of application. From those letters, then the board interviews the candidates or people that are interested, and the board then appoints that position. One thing that I would mention is that we are full from Summit Township. We have the maximum number of board members from Summit. So that potential board member would need to reside outside of Summit Township. So we'll probably go ahead and start posting that tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably need to, it's possible that we could do it next board meeting. Is that within the next 60 days? Or we could potentially call a special meeting so that our regular board meeting doesn't turn out to be.
Well, we could do a special and then confirm
And
it at the,
appoint
yeah,
at the
appoint 'em at
next,
the next one.
at the next meeting, so. That vacancy, we would like to fill that right away. One thing that I'd like to mention is that, Andy and I visited, Little Hearts Daycare this morning. We went to Eastside Preschool and to the junior high to present our staff with Christmas gifts. And then they were also presented at the high school at 3:00 at their staff meeting. And then tomorrow, there will be a couple board members at Southside, the bus garage. What do we have left? ELC and Central. The staff was presented with backpacks. We were all pretty excited about that.
So if you didn't get one yet, pretend like you didn't see it.
Just kidding.
So that's coming around tomorrow, and the junior high kids were wanting to take the backpacks from their teachers, so.
February 12th will be 60 days from December
Okay.
13th, so we got till February 12th.
Thank you again for attending this evening. High school students, you probably need someone to sign on. We're gonna go into closed session. So before we sign off on you, I'll take the formality to enter into closed session. And then again, thank you for coming. So I'm looking for a motion and a second to enter into closed session for the following items: student discipline and the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district.
Motion.
Do I have a motion from Chad, second
Second.
from Andrew, roll call?
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Robert's got most of that before.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was running around fine.
Oh, good.
So.
Does anyone have